this is Gina. Today I'm going to show you how to make this really pretty bracelet. This is square stitch embellished with crystals, so I'm going to call it Sparkling Square Stitch Bracelet. It turns out really pretty. It is a little bit more of an advanced tutorial, but it is still beginner friendly if you just learn the stitch first and play with the stitch a little bit and then do your embellishments once, or make the entire bracelet and do your embellishments once you've practiced the stitch. It's pretty simple. So let's look at this. This is what this looks like. I used two kinds of crystal and just alternated the way I put them on, and it turns out really cute. This of course is in all pinks, so it looks very girly and feminine and turns out really cute, but you can do this in any color scheming you'd like and make it look more sophisticated, or you can make it look more organic, however you want to do your color scheming. So let's go ahead and see what it takes to make this particular project and get started. Okay, for this project today, we are going to be using 8/0, 11/0, and 15/0 seed beads. These are all Toho. My 11/0 and 15/0 are galvanized permanent finish rose gold. And my 8/0 is galvanized permanent finish matte aluminum. So instead of my regular aluminum, I'm just using this little matte finish. It's very pretty. Then we're going to be using some 3x4 rondelles and some 4mm bicones. I have an imitation pink jade for my 3x4, and I just have a pink bicone. Then I'm going to be using this clasp in rose gold. This is a rather large clasp, so it's probably about 1/2 inch, maybe a little more, and it's a little large. You can use something smaller if you'd like, but I've adjusted my length for the size of clasping I'm using, and you can do the same. I'm going to be using a size 11 beading needle. You can also use a 12 size beading needle. I'm using Nanofill 10-pound, but you can most certainly use 6-pound Fireline. I know Nanofill is difficult to find now. It's just that I had some left and I wanted to use it. So 6-pound Fireline or 10-pound Nanofill will work just fine. Go ahead and put onto your needle about 4.5 to 5 feet of thread to start with. You will need to extend your Fireline or Nanofill during this process, and I will put a video in the description box beneath the video player that will show you how to do that. Just click the link and you will learn how to extend your thread. So let's go ahead and get started with this particular project. Okay, so we are going to be making a square stitch for this project, and we are going to be doing increases and decreases of the stitch. It's still very simple and beginner friendly. It's just a little bit more advanced than a basic square stitch. Let's bring the camera in a little bit, and I have got an 8/0 seed bead of a different color. I've got a bronze here. I'm going to use this for my stop bead, so I'm just going to put it on my needle and draw it down to the end of the thread, and I'm going to leave a tail that's long enough to extend for my clasping. So I'll leave about 3 inches, 3/4, something like that, and then I'm going to go up through that bead on the tail side and pull my thread through. I'm just going to tighten the thread around that bead, and now I have a stop bead. I'm going to pick up 4 8/0 seed beads onto my needle. Drop them down to my stop bead. I am going to hold these beads in my fingers so that I can see them like this, but hold them secure so they don't move around. I'm going to pick up another 8/0 seed bead onto my needle, and I'm going to go up through the top seed bead, and I'm going to go from the bottom up. So the top is the side the thread's coming out. We're going to go in the opposite side of that bead, just like this. Then just put your finger and thumb together and hold that bead and pull the new bead down and pull on the thread. It should slide under your fingers and nestle next to the previous bead. Now go down into the new bead you just added to secure it. You are also now in position to do your next bead. So we're going to be making columns of 4. So this is our first column, the 4 beads we put on. We are working on our second column. Pick up your 8/0 seed bead, go into the bottom. So you're going to go up through that bead like this. The second one on your first column of 4, and pull this bead down slowly and gently until it's lying next to the bead in the previous column, and then go back down through that bead. Secure it like so, and then repeat. Pick up an 8/0 seed bead, go into the next bead on your previous column, pull that bead up slowly. The very first couple columns are kind of awkward, so just work with it slowly. And then once you've come up through that third bead, go down through the new bead you're adding and pull your thread through while holding the beads in your fingers. Give a little tug and it should just squish them together just like that. Then let's do our last bead. Let's go up through the last one on our previous column. Pull the bead gently up, cross over, and go down through the bead that you just added. Now we have made an entire column. We have 2 columns. So we're coming out of the second column. We're going to cross over and go into the first column, and we're going to go through all 4 beads on that first column. Just like this. Hold the beads and pull that through. This is going to hold the 2 columns together, straighten everything up, and give it some strength. Now that we're coming out of that previous column, we go down into the column we just created. Now we're going to make 2 more columns. We're always going to be working out of the last column that you made and the last 2 beads. However, we're going to be working down or up depending upon the previous 2 columns we made. So we've made these, we're going to call these up columns. We're going to make a couple down columns now. So what we're going to do is we're going to start in the bead we're coming out of. We're going to pick up an 8/0 seed bead, go into the opposite side of the bead we're coming out of, and pull this bead down. Then we're going to go up through that bead to secure it and position for the next bead. We're going to pick up another bead. We're going to cross over, go into the previous column from the top down, pull this bead down, and then go back into that bead. Whoops, drop my needle. I'm going to hold on to my beads and I'm going to tug a little bit. Now, because I want to make my 2 columns going down, my thread is in the wrong position. So I have to do a little finagling of my thread after I put my first 2 beads on. So I'm coming out of this bead here. I'm going to cross over and go down from the top down in the bead right next to it in the previous column and pull my thread through. Then I'm going to cross over again and go down into the bottom bead in my new column. And now my thread is positioned so that I can add 2 more beads and make a column of 4 going down. So we're going to increase the stitch by picking up 2 8/0 seed beads. Drop them to your piece. And I'm just going to turn it this way so that gravity helps me. So though I was working down, now it looks like I'm working up, just so that I can hold my beads so that they will not flop around. I have these 2 loose beads. I pick up an 8/0 seed bead and I go through the bottom of the first one. Hold on to those beads between your fingers and pull your thread through. Give a little tug when you feel that bead slide in. Cross over and go down into the bead that you just came out of. So the one you're attaching. Now we're going to pick up another 8/0 seed bead and we're going to go into the bead next to we're going to go into the second bead on the previous column, up through the bottom of it and just that one. Then we're going to pull our bead up. Give a little tug, and this is going to be awkward and weird. It's going to move around. Just do it slowly and patiently. It'll be fine. Now, go down through the new bead you just added. Make sure that your thread slides down between the beads and not on top of them. Now, we're going to anchor to the first bead that's anchored to our previous rows. So pick up another 8/0 seed bead, go into that bead from the bottom up, and pull that bead in. Cross over and go down into the bead you just added. Give a little tug, pick up another one, go up through the bottom of the 4th bead here, pull your new bead up, lay it next to that bead, cross over and go down through it. Now we have to put these 2 columns together, attach them together and secure them by crossing over into the first column and going through all 4 of these beads. Then pull your thread through. Then cross over and go through your new column, all 4 of the beads. Straighten it all up. And now we are ready to start our next column. We're always going to be working in the 2 most bottom beads of our newest set of columns. So we are just going to work from the bottom bead here. We'll work 2 beads and then we will switch directions and go the opposite direction to make our new columns. Each column is going to have 2 beads that are attached to the previous and 2 beads on either the bottom or the top. So now we need to pick up an 8/0 seed bead, go into the bottom bead from the top of that bead, pull this bead down, and then go up through it. Pick up an 8/0 seed bead, go into the next bead. Since I'm working my way up, I'll go through the top of the bead, down, and pull this bead down. Then I'll cross over and go up through it. Now, because I need to work my way down here, I am going to cross over into the bead next to the one I'm coming out of, go down through it, and then cross over again into the very bottom bead on the outside here. Now we have the first 2 beads of our next column and we're facing the proper direction because these are going this way. We want these to go this way. So we're going to pick up 2 beads to increase our stitch. Bring them down to your piece. If you would like, you can turn it over. Hold them so that gravity helps you hold them. And let me adjust my camera a little bit. I seem to keep getting, I want to move up here a little bit. So let's go there. And now we have our 2 beads that we are increasing with. Let's pick up an 8/0 seed bead and let's go into the top bead. Go from the bottom up and hold on to that bead. Pull your thread through and feel that bead slide next to the one that you're holding on to or attaching to. Then, once you have that on, go back down through the bead that you've just put on and pull this down. Now, again, we're going to pick up an 8/0 seed bead. We're going to go into the second bead on the column here, go up from the bottom to the top of the bead, cross over, and go down through the new bead. Straighten it out. It's going to be a little weird because of the fact it's not attached fully to the column here. So now we need to attach it. Pick up another 8/0 seed bead, go up through that 8/0 you're attaching to, and then down through the bead that you've just added. And now that you have more beads, it will be easier to handle. Now pick up an 8/0 seed bead, go into the very last bead, pull that bead up, and then go down through it. Now we need to join these two columns together and straighten them out. So we're coming out of this column, we're going to go into the previous column, all 4 beads. Pull our thread through and then go down through the new column. Now we are prepared to start another of our sets of columns. Let's do another one together. Pick up an 8/0 seed bead, go through the top of the bottom 8/0, and then go back through the bead you're adding. Pick up another 8/0 seed bead, go through the top of the bead here, and bring your thread through. Cross over and go through that bead. Now, assess your situation here. You know that you need to build down, so we need to get our thread facing down. So we're coming out of this bead, we're going to cross over 1 and go down through it. Then we're going to cross over again and go down through. Now we're in the column of the 2 new beads we've started, the new column we've started. So we need to add beads. So we're going to pick up 2. We're going to drop them down, pick up our piece so that they're up now, and gravity will help us hold onto them. Hold them between your fingers, pick up an 8/0 seed bead, and go into the very top bead. Pull it down, and then go back into it. Now pick up another 8/0 seed bead, go into the second 8/0 on the first column, and bring this bead down, cross over, and go down through that bead you've just added. Now give a little tug. You don't want to make these so tight that we can't get back through them because we're going to embellish them, but you don't want any slack. So make sure that everything looks nice and neat, and then pick up your next bead. We are now going to go through the 3rd bead on the first column and up through it, pull this bead down, and then go through the new bead. Pick up an 8/0 seed bead, go up through the bottom bead and down through the new bead you've just added. Let's do one more start so we can do the crossover to position our thread, and then we'll continue off camera. So we're always working through these 2 beads, remember that. So all these beads will be centered in the middle here. We know we need to first go up through the first column, come back down through the second column. Don't forget to do that. Pick up an 8/0 seed bead, and then go into the bottom bead from the top down. Then pick up your, or go through the bead you've just added. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Now pick up an 8/0 seed bead, go into the second bead So from the top down, because we're working our way up. And hold on to that. Go up through the bead, hold on to it, and pull it, is what I meant to say. My words are going away. Now, we're coming out of this bead. We know that we need to build down, so we know we need to get our thread coming through this bead going down. So from this bead, we cross over into the bead next to it. Then we cross over again, going into the very bottom bead. We are now ready to build and add our beads. So add 2 8/0 seed beads, make your column, and just continue doing double columns all the way across until you have 28 double column units. Now, of course, you're going to take in consideration the length of the bracelet you want to make. This is about 6.5 inches. Now, my clasping is going to add another inch for me, so I will have about a 7.5 inch bracelet. You can eliminate a few units if you need to make it shorter. You can add a couple units if you need to make it longer. Now I'm coming out of my very last column after traveling. I'm going to make sure that I've traveled down through both sides again just to straighten them out. So I'm going to cross over and travel back up through all 4. Now I know that that unit is secure, and I'm going to put my clasping on this side, and then we're going to work through putting embellishments on this. So I'm going to pick up 3 11/0 seed beads and an 8/0 seed bead and drop it down to my piece. Let me rearrange my camera a little bit. And now I'm going to grab my clasp, and let's get you a little closer. Let's go through the loop on the clasp. Like I said, this is a good size clasp, so that's why I'm getting so much length. And now I'm going to go back down into my 8/0 seed bead and just my 8/0 seed bead. And I'm going to hold on to that 8/0 and pull my thread through, and then just pull until I can draw the clasp to that 8/0. Then I'm going to pick up 3 more 11/0 seed beads onto my needle and drop them down. I'm going to go into the opposite side of the column that I'm coming out of. So I'm going to go into all 4 of these beads from the bottom here and pull this down. And this is what we have. Now we're going to sew through it once together, and then we'll go off camera and sew through it again to secure it. So or even 2 times. So let's go up through all 4 of these beads into the 8/0 and then into the loop of the clasp, just like this. Pull this down and give a little tug to put it all back into alignment. Go into the 8/0 again, and then into the 3 11/0s on this side. Hold on to your beads and pull that thread through. And then go back through the column again. Do that at least one more time, twice if you need more security on it. It's up to you. And when you're coming out of your last bead here, after securing, we will be back. Okay. Now that our clasping is secure, we're going to put embellishments on this. So we are going to start, I'm going to start with a 4mm bicone. You can use anything 4mm you'd like for this, and a cuboid would look pretty. Whatever you have that you would like to use. And you can do all one type of bead, you can do all one color, it's up to you. I'm going to use 2 types of beads in the same color. So what I've done is I've picked up a 15/0 onto my needle. I'm going to pick up my crystal. I'm going to start with it first. And then I am going to pick up another 15/0 seed bead. drop this down to my piece, and I am going to go through 2 of these beads in the column. So I'm going to go down 1, 2, go into the bottom of that second bead, and sometimes these are pretty tight, especially after you put your clasping on. So just kind of push the other 2 down, go through those 2, and pull your crystal up to the middle of the piece, just like this. Let's get you in a little closer. And now we have to cross over and go through the 2 beads next to the 2 we just anchored that crystal to. So go down into the second column, pick up a 15-0 seed bead, go through the crystal again, hold on to that crystal, pull that 15-0 down, and then pick up another 15-0 and go into the column again that you're working in and go through all 4 beads on that column. Pull that 15-0 up, arrange, make sure everything looks good. And the very first one is a little strange, but as we work through, they'll look a little bit better and go on a little easier. Now we want to put another embellishment on these 2 beads, and this time I'm going to use my rondelle. So I'm going to pick up a 15-0 seed bead, and then my rondelle, and then I am going to pick up a 15-0 seed bead. And I'm going to go back into these 2 beads that I'm coming out of from the opposite side. So I'm just going to turn my piece, and I'm going to go up through that second bead and pull this crystal down. I'm going to push it on top of the piece and pull it tight. Then I'm going to go into the 2 beads next to the 2 I'm in. So into the first column here. And pull my thread through. Then I'm going to pick up a 15-0 seed bead and go through that crystal. Pull the 15-0 down into place. Make sure that your embellishment is nice and tight and as neat as you can get it. Those 15-0s aren't going to lay perfectly, but they're there to fill space, and they look pretty regardless if they are a little crooked. Then we're going to pick up another 15-0 seed bead, and we're going to go into the column, the second column, and all 4 of the beads in that column. So actually that would be the first column, but the column that we're working in. Go all the way through it. And now we have our first embellishment. However, we're going to add one more little embellishment to finish off, to cover the thread and to make it pretty. So we're going to pick up a 15-0 and then an 11-0 seed bead and then a 15-0 onto our needle, like this. We are coming out of this column. We're going to go into the next column and go through all 4 beads, just like this. Then we're going to pick up an 11-0 a 15-0, an 11-0, and a 15-0 seed bead, just like this, and go all the way down this column. Now that has finished off your unit to make it look nice and finished. Now we have to get over to this side, so we're going to go through the 15-0, 11-0, 15-0 that we just put on, and you'll have to probably do it in 2 strokes here. As you're coming through that 15-0, go through 2 8-0s right there. Now we are in position to start our next embellishment. We're going to go down 2 beads in this column. Okay, And because right here I have a bicone, I'm going to put a rondelle on. Or do I want to do that? Yeah, I think I want to put a rondelle on first. And you can arrange them however you would like, however you think they're going to be pretty. I'm going to pick up a 15-0, a rondelle, and a 15-0. I'm coming out of this column of 2 beads. I'm going to go back into those 2 beads and exit them. So I'm going in on the opposite side and then exiting just those 2 beads. Bring your embellishment around, push it on top, arrange it, and then go into the 2 beads in the column next to the one you're working in. So go into the second column, pull your thread through, adjust your embellishment so it doesn't have any slack, pick up a 15-0 seed bead, go into the crystal again. Hold on to it, pull that 15-0 down, and then pick up another 15-0 and go back into those 2 beads. Now, cross over into the previous column and go down all 4 beads. Pick up a 15-0, and this time I'm going to use a bicone. Pick one of those up. Come here. Oh, come here. And then a 15-0. And now we are going to go back into the 2 beads that we're coming out of on the opposite side, just like this. Pull it down, push the crystal in the center, get any slack out, arrange it so that it lays nice with the previous crystal, and then go into the 2 beads on the second column. And again, just kind of push your 8/0s out of the way and kind of bend them back and push them up out of the way. Sometimes they argue with you, like mine is doing right now. So I'm just going to be patient and get that through, just like that. There's plenty of room, they're just at funny angles. So now I'm in the second column. I'm going to pick up a 15-0 seed bead, and I am going to go into the crystal again. Hold on to it, pull the 15-0 down, make sure my thread doesn't tangle around the previous 15-0, pull that down tight, pick up a 15-0, and go back into my column and go up all 4 beads. Now I need to do my end embellishment, so I'm going to pick up a 15-0 and an 11-0 and a 15-0, and I'm going to cross over from the column I'm in and go down all 4 beads in the previous column. Then I'm going to pick up a 15-0, an 11-0, a 15-0, and from the column I'm in, I am going to go up all 4 beads. And here, I can just cross up into 2 beads on the next column. Each one, depending upon whether you're going up or down, may be a little bit different how you enter your beads. But just know that you need to enter 2 beads on the next column. So get yourself positioned to do so. And then pick up a 15-0 seed bead, and this time I think I've got both of them down and both of them up. I think I'm going to start with a crystal bicone. And I am going to pick up a 15-0 crystal 15-0, and I'm going to go back into these 8/0s I'm coming out of on the opposite side of them. Then, once I have my crystal on here, I'm going to go into the 2 8/0s next to the column I just attached to. So now I'm in the second column. I pick up a 15-0, go into my crystal, pull down that 15-0, pick up another, and go back into the 2 beads on the opposite side here in the second column and pull another 15-0 down. Arrange everything, and you actually could have traveled down all 4 of them. So let's just travel down all 4. Now we're in position to put on our next embellishment. So you always want to be coming out of 2 beads. So now we are picking up a 15-0, and then I'm going to pick up my rondelle and a 15-0. Come here. Well, there we go. And I'm going to go back into these 2 beads and pull this down. Then I'm going to pick up a 15-0, or actually, no I'm not. I'm going to go into the column next to the one that I just attached to. So we have to go into this column here, both beads, and pick up a 15-0. Go down through the crystal. I'm going to hold on to it, pull my 15-0 down, make sure it doesn't tangle but lays next to the previous 15-0s, and then I'm going to pick up another 15-0, and I'm going to go up all 4 beads on this side. And just make sure that my embellishment looks the way I want it to look. Then I'm going to pick up an 11-0, or excuse me, a 15-0, 11-0, 15-0. And I'm going to go from this column into this column. Then I'm going to pick up a 15-0, 11-0, 15-0, and go all the way up this column. Now I am not in position to go into my next set of beads, so I have to sew to that position. So I will sew through the 15-0. Let me turn this so I can see it. I will sew through the 15-0 and the 11-0 that I just added. If I loosen them up, I can pull my thread and tighten them. And then I'll go through this 15-0, and I will come down into all 4 beads here. Turn my piece back over, and now I'm in position to go straight over to the next set of 2. So I'm coming out of the very bottom of this column. I'm going to go into these 2. So you just have to navigate where you're at as you put your embellishments on. It's not always going to be in the same position, but as long as you follow your previous thread path, you can get in position to get to your next embellishment. So here I will go ahead and add my crystal and then my rondelle, and I'll just kind of alternate my crystal and rondelle. So I have 2 of them where the rondelles are on top. I'll have 2 where they're on bottom, and then I'll change that and do 2 just the opposite of the 2 I did, just like this. So I put the 2 rondelles on the top here, and on here I have it on the bottom, so I'll have it on the bottom here. And then I'll switch it. So I will just continue doing my embellishments until I get to the end, and then we'll be back. Okay, so now you can see I have finished my embellishments and it turned out really pretty. One thing to note, I removed 3 of my very last units, or it would be the first units that I made. I just pulled them off because my length was going to be way too long considering the size of my clasping. So I removed 3 of those. So instead of 28 units, I have 25. And it is measuring, the units themselves are measuring right around 6 inches. So by the time I measure through halfway through my clasp, and then I put my other end on, it's going to be about a 7-inch bracelet. So keep that in mind. Also, I cut down my thread for my tail because I'm just not going to need that. I'm going to put the clasping on after I have finished my embellishments. So you don't have to leave a very long tail when you start. You won't need to extend it, and you won't be putting your clasp on with it. So what I've done, also one more note, make sure when you end your units that you end your last one up like this one here. You want the same unit to attach to. So instead of a down unit, you'll want an up unit because we started on an up unit. Just a note so that your bracelet will be symmetrical. Then we're coming out of these last beads here after putting on the embellishments, and we're going to put on our clasping on this side. So we're going to pick up 3 11-0 seed beads. Let me get you in closer. We're going to pick up 3 11-0 seed beads, and I'm going to pick up 2 8-0s. I'm going to give myself just a little bit more narrowing on this end so that my toggle clasp works well. So I've picked up 3 11-0s, 2 8-0s, and then I am going to pick up my clasp end and go through it. And then I'm just going to go through 2 8-0s. So ignore the 11-0s, go through the 2 8-0s and pull this down. Then I'm going to pick up 3 11-0 seed beads, and then I'm going to go through the column on the opposite side that I'm coming out of and pull this down. Now, sew through that 2 more times like we did the other side. I will go ahead and just melt in my tail thread after I've finished. Sew through this 2 more times. We'll come back and tie it off and we'll be finished. Okay, so I have secured my clasping end, and I went ahead and trimmed down the little bit of tail I had left from starting the project and just gently melted that in with the lighter, and I'll show you how to do that after we cut off the side. It's very simple, of course. Now, I'm coming out of the column here after securing my clasping, and I'm just going to travel up these 3 seed beads on the top here of the column. So the 15-0, the 11-0, and the 15-0 here. And then I am also going to go down into 2 beads on this second column here. Then I'm going to go underneath this thread bridge between the beads. So between the columns, there's a little thread bridge. I'm going underneath it. I don't have a lot of thread left, so I'm trying to make this work. I'm going to make a little loop, go through that loop, and tie a knot. And then I will just travel down through the next entire column. Let's see if I can get through. Move these little beads aside. Come on, come through. Okay, so let me try that again because, I think I'll just go through 2 of them if I can. No, I cannot. So let me move this 15-0. There we go. All right, so just travel through the next column. And because my thread is so short, I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here and melt it in. Now you can go through a couple more columns and tie on the thread bridges between them if you would like. Now I'm going to see if I can get a pair of scissors to actually cut this worth a darn. And then I'm just going to take my lighter and get it close to the thread and let it melt down into those beads, which creates another little knot. Now I have a bracelet. Let me measure my bracelet so you know exactly what I ended up with. So I'll measure halfway through the toggle on this side here. And I have just a tiny bit over a 7-inch bracelet. Let me see if that will work for me. And it should. And yes, it does. And it turned out really pretty. So let me rearrange some of this stuff so you can see what this looks like. And here's my clasping. And here's my bracelet. It's very pretty. This color scheming is very delicate and girly. You could do any color scheming you'd like. These particular beads that I used, the aluminum matte, they're such a neutral that I could have gone black, I could have gone purple, I could have gone turquoise. Turquoise would look really pretty with this, turquoise and black, anything you want. And of course, you don't necessarily have to use the same 80 seed beads I use. You can use any seed beads. You can use a metallic to make it look more of a metallic bracelet. You can do this any way you want. But this has turned out really pretty, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you try to make one. Have a good day. Bye-bye.